I've got a question. We're talking about offsets and carbon and everything else. Because of how these homes are built, I'm hoping you can elaborate on what does that imply for us, whether it is vehicles or anything else. But the question that I'm going for this at the end of all this is because you're creating a lower carbon house, does that help? Like some of us really like our gas stoves and are worried about the, balancing our carbon output and stuff like that. Does building a more environmentally friendly home help balance out some of that so we can feel better about wanting our gas stove and our gas barbecue and stuff like that? Or is that a net zero conversation?
Oh, I mean, my take on it is every bit counts. We're using the word climate crisis, and so we gotta do as each individual, we gotta make our own account, our own balance, our own T account. And so if we want to be net zero, and we still want to continue to live the way we're living, and which I think is fair, everyone has that right. There's no reason why we should be restricting how we're living. Then we're gonna have to look to ways to reduce, and I think there is a space in what we're talking about. And I think one of the big ones is reduction. And that's what you're sort of getting at is carbon reduction. Thicker walls that BOSS provides can dramatically reduce, through a number of other key building principles, the ongoing operating energy that you input into your house. This conversation of going 100% electric, we all can't just automatically switch to 100% electric. Grid, various things don't allow. We're going to need gas as a transition fuel in the natural gas space. We're not going to be able to all give up these things at once. But I think as we progress down this path, we do need to transition and make those choices. And reduce. It's an exercise on reduction. There's a reduction of consumer consumption. Like I think I've snuck it in a couple of times on single family homes. They're a pretty big volume of consumption in that. If multifamily, smaller homes, smaller density makes a bigger difference. Reduction of the inputs and of the material carbon emissions in your building, the operating efficiency, those are all things that help contribute to that. And for your own personal balance scorecard, if that gets you to a place that you're comfortable with, that's what's critical.
On the topic of reduction, I always feel though like we're like, oh, this one thing is bad. So now we're going to use this other thing because it's better. Oh no, that's bad. Now we're going to use this other thing that's better. Like, how do we reduce to a point instead of just putting all like essentially eggs in one basket? We're like, we're going to use this one thing that's going to save the world.
I would call that there's an element of that that's like just natural human progression. And where I think each time we're getting smarter and smarter, and we're learning more about what the emissions could be from burning gas stoves in our houses.
But food just tastes so much better on it. Like I love a gas stove, so I was like,
I like
so
to
you
know,
get
but
some emissions.
I burn my cooking 80% less on a gas stove.
I'd say for me, I'm happy with my induction stove, but don't take away my barbecue outside.
Okay.
That's where it's like you got to draw a line somewhere. So no, I think it's an interesting. I think that we are we're using a lot of words like transitions and those sort of things in a lot of these conversations, and that's progression. And as we evolve and those sort of things and explore what this change is, I think we have to sort of accept at some point that we're going to have to make some changes because we can't continue the way we're going. Housing crisis, climate crisis, a bunch of these things that maybe are said too often for certain people and those sort of things. But I think the reality is there's enough data and proof that we're gonna have to make a difference. We're gonna have to change something. The way we drive, the way we use transport most likely has to change. And I think one of the biggest things is how we consume.